Okay, today we're going to be learning about division. So to start off, I want to review some vocabulary. Right here, we have the problem 220 divided by 8. It may also be written a little differently. It could be written like this, 220 divided by 8. To solve it, you're going to want to write it this way. Okay, and we have some important vocabulary. This 220 is called our dividend. It's the number that is being divided. And this 8 is called our divisor. It is the number that is doing the dividing. And our answer, when we get it, will be our quotient. Those are all words we will review in class, but those are important division vocabulary. Alright, to go ahead and get started here, we're starting with an easy problem, 220 divided by 8. When you're doing division, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, will 8 go into 2? We know 8 is bigger than 2. It will go into 2 0 times. It won't fit into the number 2 at all. So you can write a 0 up here. You can put a dot. Well, I wouldn't put a dot. That might get confused with a decimal. But this space you need to leave blank. I'm going to go ahead and just put a 0 to hold that place. So now, since it wouldn't just fit into the 2, now you want to look at this whole number 22. So how many times will 8 go into 22? And I know 8 times 1 is 8, so it will definitely go in 1 time. 8 times 2 is 16, so it will go in 2 times. But 8 times 3, I might do over here if I don't know these. 8 times 3 is 24, and 24 is too large. 8 will not fit into 22 3 times, so 8 will only fit in 2 times. So I'm going to put my 2 above this 2 because I was doing 22, so I put my 2 above that last digit that I was asking about. And 8 times 2 is 16, so I'm going to write 16 down here. And then your next step is to subtract that from the initial number. So 22 minus 16 is going to be 8. If you had to, if you didn't know that, you could borrow your 1, that becomes 1. 12 minus 6 is going to be 6. I was incorrect. It's going to be 6. So it's a good thing to do that. You see that your teacher makes mistakes sometimes. Okay. So 22 minus 16 is 6. You're going to bring down your 0. And now you have the number 60. So you want to know how many times 8 will go into 60. This is where you're going to need to know your math facts. So if you know your math facts, you're going to know right away that 8 times 7 is 56. So I know that it will go in 7 times. Now if you did not know 8 times 7 was 56, then you would have to, over here, do your 8 times tables, and you might have to start writing 8, 16, 24, 32, and you might have to go until you get to a number that is larger than 60. If you got to 8 times 8, you would get 64, and you know that is too big. So you have to do 8 times 7, you get 56, and now you subtract and you get, you're left over with 4. So right now, a lot of you learn in 4th grade to do 27, remainder 4. But in 5th grade, we're going to do this a different way so that we get a decimal answer. So since you have a remainder, if this is not 0, if this was 0, you would be done and your answer would be 27. But we have a remainder, so what we need to do now is we need to add a decimal point in our answer and in our dividend, and we need to add a 0 to the dividend, and we now need to drop that 0 down. So now I have this 4, I add that 0 there, and now we need to ask ourselves how many times will 8 go into 40? Well, this is a nice one because if you know 8 times 5, you're going to know 8 times 5 is exactly 40. So I would put my 5 up here. You could write your 40 down here, and you could subtract them. and you would end up with 0 as your remainder. So when you end up with 0 as your remainder, you know you have your answer. So 220 divided by 8 is going to be 27 and 5 tenths. You can erase any 0 that is in front of that tens place there. Okay, let's go ahead and try one more. So I want to do the problem 3,360 divided by, we're going to try divided by 11. Okay, so now we're going to do a 2-digit dividend, or sorry, this is our divisor. So we have a 2-digit divisor and we have a 4-digit dividend. We're going to try to find the quotient that will go up here. Okay, so when you have a 2-digit divisor, like 11, you may not know all of the times tables. So you might over here have to do some multiplication to see what numbers will work. So the first thing we do is, can 11 go into the number 3? We know it cannot, so you can leave this blank, or you can put a 0. So we need to go over, can 11 go into 33? 11 can go into 33, and if you don't know how many times, over here you have to do maybe 11 times. We know 11 times 1 is 11, 11 times 2 is going to be 22. Let's try 11 times 3. It is 33. Okay, I know these off the top of my head, but in case you didn't, okay, 11 times 3 is exactly 33. So I'm going to write, it goes into 33 3 times. I get 33. I subtract it, and I'm left with 0. Okay, so now again, I need to bring down my 6. Here's where it can get tricky. Can 11 go into the number 6? 11 cannot go into the number 6. It is bigger than the number 6. So 11 goes into the number 6 0 times. So I'm going to write my 0 up there again. And down here you can write a 0 if you want. You don't have to. You subtract, so you're going to end up with 6 again. And now you need to bring down this next 0. And I get 60. Okay. Now I still have to get a digit to go up here, so I want to know how many times 11 can go into 60. So I've already done some multiplication here, so I could try 11 times 4, I'm going to get 44, and I could try 11 times 5, and I'm going to get 55, and I could do 11 times 6, and I'm going to get 66. So can it go into 66 times? No, because 66 is bigger than 60. So it will not go in 6 times, but it will go in 5 times. So over here, I'm going to write a 5. I get 5 times 11, and it is 55. So I 55 down here, and I do some subtraction. Do 60 minus 5, 60 minus 55, and I get a 5. That's over. That's a 5 there. Okay, now since I have a 5 left over, I need to put a decimal point here. I put 1 here, and I add a 0 to my dividend, and I drop down my 0, so that now, instead of just 5, I have 50, and I need to know how many times now 11 can go into 50. Well, I already have done it over here. I know 55 is too big, but it will go in 4 times. So over here now, I'm going to write a 4. I do 4 times 11, and I get 44. And I do 50 minus 44, and I get a 6. Okay, now I need to keep going because I do not have a 0 remainder yet. So I'm going to add on another 0, drop it all the way down. And now I need to know again how many times is 11 going to go into 60. Well, I've already done that one. I know 11 will go into 60 5 times, and that is going to be 55. And I would write my 55 down here. I'd subtract again, and I get a 5. Now you're going to see a pattern. It's going to start with 3. So right now, for my answer, let's do that real well because of the glare. That's 305 and 45 hundredths. That is going to be, sorry, that is going to be good enough for right now. Eventually we will talk about rounding and how to get a more exact answer. But for now, I'm not going to ask you to go out past the hundredths. If you get to this point, then your answer is close enough. It's not exact, it's approximate, but 3,360 divided by 11 is going to be approximately 305 and 45 hundredths. So go ahead and fill out your KWL and share what you've learned. If you're confused, you can rewatch this video, or you may watch the one that I've posted below, which gives another explanation.